There's a lot of crypto hate out there. It's a symptom of just bloat, lard, and scammers that aren't even trying to hide it. And one of the easy ways to cut down crypto beyond the scammers is this environmental argument. And it's been there mid to early last year is when I first started seeing people really complain about crypto's environmental impact because it had become mainstream at that point, to the point where it's like, okay, NFTs are here. It's this blockchain thing. It's using coal and oil. All this greenhouse gas is getting emitted, and it's burning the world. And like, it's like, what is it really doing for us? Well, this merge thing is really significant. Reducing the energy and power consumption by upwards of 99% or more is a really significant argument. It pretty much cuts the Warren tide in half, because half of their base is like, oh, we don't know who we're dealing with in DeFi. So yeah, we can't deal with anonymity and all that nonsense. And then there was this power consumption. It's terrible for the environment. Do you guys think that impacts how broader retail even view crypto, whether they even want to participate in it, whether they think it's good or bad?
Well, I think objectively you could say it is good for real, for certain. I mean, it's not a goose chase to say that using less energy is better, and if you can attain the same security by doing so, then obviously that's superior. I think with the world the way it is now, the kind of recent events, and kind of people are conscious that energy is finite, and then you couple that with a lot of the green movements, which are trying to like psychologically quantify what the negative externalities are of using all these natural resources and the kind of longer term effects. It is kind of a perfect storm in terms of a narrative where we achieve similar or greater security, but also are just better for the environment / more sustainable long term. And now I know the arguments about Bitcoin, about it mostly being green energy and stuff, and that is great. That is, does the world really need two energy consuming, nation state resistant ledgers, or can one of them be a little bit more advanced and on a proof of stake, kind of more economically driven chain and achieve the same output? And I think most people in the market's probably telling you, given the FBTC ratio, that it certainly represents like a longer term, more sustainable future for Ethereum than Bitcoin. I mean, and as we've seen off the bottom on this whole thing, people are really excited about this. And I think retail, you just say it's greener, and that's, that might be all you need to say, really.
I'm wondering, purely from a investment perspective, environmental aspect of it, to me, doesn't really translate into sell pressure.
Well, there is quite a big
people
difference
coming in to the space.
Well, there's quite a big difference between proof of stake and proof of work, in that in proof of stake you attain your inflation rewards through like no actual expenditure of energy in any real level, whereas in a Bitcoin mining operation or a true proof of work operation, you literally did convert some kind of energy into hashing power, and thereby you do need to sell your rewards in order to pay that expense.
That is
Where
true.
in proof of stake you don't technically need to do that. Now, I think both me and Tom's opinion here is that a highly financialized economy will always find a way to add leverage, and if you can achieve delta neutral yields, you will. And so most of the inflation will be sold, just kind of like Bitcoin, but there's just going to be less of it. Whereas in Bitcoin, those miners, they need to sell their Bitcoin in order to stay like buoyant as a business. And that doesn't necessarily need to be the case in proof of stake, which I think that's the big difference there.
Right. The way that I'm thinking about it, this merge does translate to a removal of a significant amount of sell pressure, particularly with miners and how much is being burned and all of that. But in addition to that, to me, I don't feel that any retail sell pressure or people coming into the crypto space is for environmental reasons. I feel a lot of the friction coming into the space is that crypto is kind of a scary place to operate, and the UI user experience is pretty difficult to manage from a retail perspective, and that seems to be, to me, a bigger headwind bringing outside money into the space than the environmental perspective.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That being said, I think that the environmental factors of this are kind of maybe the third or fourth most important part of the whole kind of thing, because ultimately, even in the proof of stake system, you're still using energy in some form. So the whole conceptual idea of turning energy into money. But you do have in my opinion, the large part is obviously the change in the supply demand economics and, going from the 13,000 ETH a day that are handed out to miners or paid to them to secure the network. And that should, I've seen kind of estimates anywhere from like 1,300 to 4,000 over the next year in terms of like per day supply. So that, that becomes a big deal right away. So you kind of tie that with STETH not unlocking for 6 to 12 months. And you do have this kind of opportunity to kind of spark another potential bull market. It's just a matter of where that value will accrue across the board. So I think ultimately this is going to be a very good move for Ethereum and a step in the right direction. And look, it's like the environmental concerns, I think, are kind of secondary to all this, but it can't hurt. So I know that there's lots of money and people that are opened up that are not otherwise available when you kind of take the wasteful energy part out of this. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, and I'm particularly interested to see how it plays out in the regulatory space as well, because if it's more environmentally friendly, it's possibly easier for the political aspect around crypto to lighten.
Yeah. To build on Tom's point there, what retail really loves is momentum in any kind of speculative market or just market in general. And, less emissions and therefore less required inflows to pump the price makes it easier to create price momentum. And I think ultimately in crypto that at the end of the day, it's all about momentum and people just want to buy something going up in general. If this aids in that, then I would say yes, this is going to bring in retail eventually.
Especially if it's impacting gas prices.